Electrical conductors in electrostatic equilibrium. Okay, so when we talked about electrical conductors, we said that they have mobile electrons, and therefore when we apply an electric field on an electrical conductor, at equilibrium, the net electric field inside the conductor will be zero. Why? Because these mobile electrons will rearrange such that the electric field inside will be reduced to zero. Otherwise, they would move subject to the force Q times E, the electron charge multiplied by the electric field. So the electrons would move until the net force on them is zero. So that's the argument. So if I put an electrical conductor inside a uniform electric field like this, you will see that there's a positive charge distribution that created this electric field. So the electric field lines point from positive charges to negative charges here. That's the source of the electric field. And from positive charges to negative charges on the other side. So what we see here is that the mobile electrons will see this electric field and will feel a force that will make them move towards the left hand side here. So we will form a surface charge made up of mobile electrons, and the ions that are left behind, so these valence electrons are on this side, and then we have uncompensated ions. Those are not mobile, fixed atoms which have been ionized. They will form another surface charge density here, and this motion will continue. The electrons will move to the left hand side until the electric field induced inside the conductor will be cancelling exactly the electric field outside. So inside the conductor, the total electric field will be zero. So the motion of the electrons will stop and we will form the equilibrium situation. So the induced electric field, E induced inside due to the induced surface charge, cancels the external electric field. So we have a net electric field of zero inside the conductor. Okay, now if the conductor is isolated and carries a net charge, the charge resides on the surface. So remember, when we talked about electrification process, we said that it was possible to induce charges on a conductor, and then we can connect it to the ground, get rid of some of the electrons, and basically cut the ground connection, and we would have a charged conductor. For example, this is a charged conducting sphere where we have lack of electrons. So there's a positive charge distribution on the surface of the conductor. Induced electric field inside, the net electric field inside will be zero. Now, if you look at Gauss Law, we can basically show that the electric field inside will be zero, because if all the charges are on the surface and if you have a Gaussian surface inside the sphere, the net electrical charge inside is zero. So Q enclosed is zero. Therefore, the total electrical flux E dot dA, which is Q in over epsilon zero, must be zero, because Q in is zero, all the charge is on the surface. So this tells us that the electric field is zero. So electric field inside the conducting sphere will be zero. What about the electric field just outside the conductor due to the uniform surface charge density sigma? So if I look at the electric field just outside the conductor, for example, I can take this Gaussian cylinder just out to calculate the electric field just outside. Now, if I look at the electric field outside, this will be basically pointing in this direction due to the positive charge. That's the electric field, and the dA vector, the area vector, will be pointing like this. So I will see that because I have this surface charge distribution, uniform surface charge distribution, electric field lines would be pointing radially outward like this. So I would have electric field lines pointing radially outward, which is basically parallel to the area vector. So that's so on and so forth. Okay, so if I use Gauss law for this cylindrical Gaussian surface, the electric field is perpendicular to the area vector on the sides of the cylinder. Electric field inside is zero. So if I write the closed surface electrical flux E dot dA, that is basically going to be charge enclosed Q in over epsilon 0. Now, if I concentrate on the integral E dot dA, as I said, the side surface, the area vector is perpendicular to the electric field, no contribution. The surface, the side that is inside the conducting sphere, so this part will have a zero contribution because the electric field inside is zero. So we will have the electric field outside. So electric field outside, dot product with dA vector, because they are parallel to each other, is basically this is going to become integral EdA, and the electric field basically is going to be at this point, if I take a very small Gaussian cylinder, a constant, so then I will have E times pi r square for E dot dA integral, because this is this cylinder has radius r. So this will be equal to charge enclosed, which is charge density sigma times pi r square divided by epsilon 0. So how do I calculate this charge enclosed? So I look at this area here, and this area is pi r square multiplied by sigma. That gives me the charge enclosed. So pi r squares will cancel, and I will find that the electric field just outside the charged conducting surface will be sigma divided by epsilon 0, perpendicular to the surface. So it's basically pointing perpendicular to the surface. Okay, so this is somewhat similar to what we did in the previous lecture, where we talked about the electric field in between two infinite planes of charge. But here we had two contributions due to the positive charge and negative charge, and they add up and give us a total electric field of sigma over epsilon 0 inside, and outside the electric field was 0. But due to a single plane of charge, the electric field has contributions, because the flux has contributions from both sides of the cylinder. We have E times A and E times A. 2E times A is sigma pi A square, so that gives us sigma over 2 epsilon 0. So the electric field due to a plane of charge is sigma over 2 epsilon 0. The electric field in between two planes of charge, positive and negative, is sigma over epsilon 0. Electric field outside is 0. And for a conductor, the electric field just outside the conductor for the charged conducting surface is sigma over epsilon 0 perpendicular to the surface, not sigma over 2 epsilon 0. Why? Because in this case, the electric field inside has to be 0. That is due to having mobile electrons rearranging to get a net force of 0 inside the conductor. Whereas in this case, we have contributions from both sides of this plane of charge. So E times A, so sigma over 2 epsilon 0. So one side, if this side was inside a conductor, that would give us 0 contribution. Therefore, we have this difference of a factor of 2 between the plane of charge and charged conducting surface. So that's basically the reason why we have this difference. Now, another argument for the direction of the electric field. Why does it have to be perpendicular to the surface? If the electric field had a component parallel to the surface, the electrons would move along the surface. So if you have an electric field component here, then you would have electron motion on the surface until we have the parallel component of the electric field becoming zero. So because we have these mobile electrons that can establish equilibrium that corresponds to a total net electrical force of zero, this argument basically shows us that the electric field outside a conducting surface has to be perpendicular to the surface. It also tells us that the electric field inside the conducting surface has to be zero because we have the arrangement of charges on the surface that guarantees this result, and the electric field is sigma over epsilon zero just outside the conducting surface.